Ever feel like your mind is just racing a mile a minute? Thoughts all over the place.
Like a runaway train.
Exactly. Well, today's deep dive, get this, it's our ticket to inner peace. Saint Met style.
We're talking Simran, Dhyan,
Yeah,
Bhajan.
and trust me, it's way cooler than it sounds. We're diving into Simran, Dhyan, and Bhajan, this book of dialogues with a spiritual master. It's like almost having him right here with us.
Direct line to some ancient wisdom.
Totally. And get this, we're not just defining terms here. We're going deep on why this stuff still matters.
For anyone, and I mean anyone,
Who wants a little more peace in their life?
or maybe even a whole new perspective, what I find fascinating is how relatable the source makes it all.
Oh, yeah.
It compares the mind to this, like, chatterbox roommate, you know?
Oh, I feel seen.
The one that just won't quit. To-do lists, worries, that song stuck in your head. Our minds are a whirlwind.
Okay, so how does Saint Matt deal with this chatty roommate?
That's where Simran, Dhyan, and Bhajan come in. Think of them like tools, techniques to tame that inner chaos.
Okay.
And believe it or not, it all starts with just one word.
Wait, hold up. Just one word. Tell me more.
All right, so picture this. Your mind's a messy room. Thoughts everywhere, right?
Oh, I know that room well.
Simran, with its repetition of sacred words, mantras.
Right.
It's like opening a door in that cluttered room, a fresh breeze, just a little clarity.
Okay, now that's a visual I can get behind, but it's got to be more than repeating any word, right?
Let's say?
The method to the mantra here, isn't there?
Absolutely. The source, it goes into this fascinating analogy, compares these sacred names to a door leading into this vast house of spiritual experience. Simran, that's your first step through the door.
So it's like a gateway practice.
Exactly.
You're not diving into the deep end just yet.
You're easing in. And the beauty is, it's simple. Not about emptying your mind completely, which, let's be real.
Impossible.
Exactly. It's about choosing a word, a mantra, and letting it cut through the clutter.
So less about silencing the mind, more like giving it something to focus on.
You got it.
Yeah.
Gently shifting that attention to the eye center, that point on your forehead.
Oh, yeah.
Often linked with intuition, inner wisdom, all that. Source describes it as like focusing your mind like a laser beam.
Laser focus. Got it. But how does simply repeating a word, even in the eye center, how does that lead to any real change?
Great question. The source, it uses this powerful analogy, compares Simran to a magnet, drawing a needle towards it.
Okay.
Just like that needle naturally aligns, through Simran, our attention, it's drawn inwards, preparing us for connection with, well, something bigger than ourselves.
So by quieting the mind, we're creating space for something else to come through, like priming ourselves for a deeper experience.
You got it. And that's where our next practice comes in, Dhyan. It's like, imagine you finally got that chatty roommate to chill out. Now it's time to give them something calming to focus on.
Okay, intrigued. But what are we visualizing here? Is this like those guided meditations, picturing a beach?
Not quite. In Sant Mat, we're visualizing the form of our spiritual master.
Hold on, visualizing your spiritual master, that's a bit different from a beach.
It is, but there's a reason. The source says the master is seen as like an embodiment of divine light and sound.
The very essence we're trying to connect with.
Exactly. It's less about their physical appearance, more about tapping into their energy.
So it's like mentally tuning into their frequency, like dialing into their radio station, playing peaceful vibes.
I like that. It's about tapping into a vibration that resonates with your own inner light and sound.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what if, you're new to this, haven't met your master in person, or you're like me and visualizing anything feels like a Herculean task? What does the source say about that?
You've hit on a question many people have. Thankfully, the text, it offers some alternatives. One approach is to focus on the feeling of your master's presence.
Okay, so less about a perfect picture, more about a feeling.
Exactly. Imagine like holding their hand, feeling their calming energy.
That feels much more doable, like tapping into a sense of guidance.
Right. And if that's still tricky, the source suggests focusing on the darkness at the eye center.
So instead of forcing a vision, you're using that darkness as a blank canvas.
You've got it. The key is be adaptable. There's no one right way. The source really emphasizes finding what resonates with you.
I love that. It's about making the practice your own.
Exactly.
So we've quieted the mind with Simran, focused our attention with Dhyan. Are you sensing a theme here? Feels like we're building to something.
You're definitely picking up what the source is putting down. It's all about building that foundation.
Okay.
And now, with our senses heightened, we're ready to turn into something even subtler. The inner sound current. also known as shabad.
Ooh, okay.
This, my friend, is where things get really interesting.
Okay, you've officially piqued my curiosity. We've tamed the chatty roommate, focused our minds like lasers. What's next in our deep dive into Sant Mat meditation? You'll have to wait for part 2 to find out. All right, so we're back. Deep diving into the world of Sant Mat meditation. We've covered Simran, Dhyan, and now for the main event, the one I'm most curious about, Shaban.
It's no coincidence that it comes last. Think about it. You've quieted the mind with Simran, focused your vision with Dhyan. Now we're talking about tuning into the subtlest level, the inner sound current, what's often called shabd.
Okay, getting some serious final level vibes here. So how does the source describe this inner sound? Is it like a hum, a melody? What are we talking about here?
That's where it gets interesting. The book uses some seriously vivid descriptions, rushing river, delicate bells, even buzzing bees. It's all on the table.
Wow, okay. That's quite a range. So it seems like there's no one-size-fits-all sounds, like each of us might experience it differently.
Exactly. And the source makes it clear. The inner sound, it can manifest in so many ways, and like our perception of it, it gets more refined as we practice.
Okay, so it's not just a one-and-done thing. You have to work at it.
Think of it like developing a taste for fine wine. At first, it's just grapes, right? But over time, you start picking up on the subtle notes, the complexities.
I like that analogy. So we're refining our inner ear, learning to pick up on those subtler frequencies. But I got to ask, and I'm sure our listeners are wondering the same thing, is this something you literally hear with your ears?
That's a common question, and the source, it tackles it head on. Explains that Bhajan, it's not about physical hearing, but about awakening this inner faculty, like a hidden sense you never knew you had.
Okay, so tapping into something beyond our everyday awareness.
Yeah.
But for those of us who, haven't quite unlocked that level of perception yet, it can all feel a little abstract. Does the source say anything about beginners experiencing this inner sound?
There's this fascinating part where the master actually says that even those who haven't formally been initiated, they might get these glimpses of inner light and sound. He compares it to like catching a ray of sunshine through a cloudy sky.
Okay, so it's not completely out of reach.
Not at all.
There's hope for us yet. But it makes you wonder, what does it mean if this inner sound current is something that's potentially accessible to everyone, even if just in glimpses?
Exactly. And it goes back to the idea that we're not creating something new here, but uncovering something that's already present within us. And this is where Simran, Dhyan, and Bhajan, they all weave together.
It's like they're each strengthening a different part of our inner listening muscle, getting us ready to finally hear that subtle sound current. So we're really talking about a progression here, like you got to master Simran before you can even think about Bhajan, right?
Actually, the source emphasizes that it's not about mastering one before moving on to the next. It's more about this beautiful interplay between them.
So you're saying even as beginners, we can, and maybe even should, incorporate all three practices.
Absolutely. It's about finding what feels right for you. The source actually compares it to a tapestry. Each thread, it's essential. And when woven together, they create something beautiful and whole.
So we're weaving a tapestry, huh?
That's the idea.
With Simran, Dhyan, Bhajan,
Each one a thread.
creating something intricate, personal. And if the source is right, something with the potential to, really connect us with something much bigger than ourselves.
And you know what they say? Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Tapestries, they take time. Source really stresses that consistency is key, even if it's just a few minutes each day.
It's like those little actions add up, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it'd be easy to get discouraged, especially when you're sitting there, repeating your mantra, focusing on your breath, and it feels like nothing's happening.
Oh, absolutely. Those moments, they're part of the process.
But how do you push through that?
Well, the source offers this really encouraging thought. Even those tiny glimpses of inner light or sound, those are significant.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like catching a shooting star.
Okay, yeah.
A fleeting moment of brilliance, but it leaves you in awe.
So it's about, shifting your perspective. Not expecting this huge breakthrough, but appreciating those subtle shifts, the moments of clarity, those little whispers of peace you get from the practice.
Exactly. It's about celebrating those little victories, seeing them as stepping stones.
And that's maybe where the guidance of a master is so important. The source talks about tailoring practices for each person.
Definitely. There's a part where the master, he compares his role to a doctor prescribing medicine.
Oh, interesting.
What works for one person might not work for another, even if on the surface their issues seem similar.
Makes sense. We're all so different.
Right.
Different temperaments, different life experiences. I mean, one person's meditation music is another person's noise pollution.
Exactly. And the source really drives home this point. Don't compare your journey to someone else's. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
Oh, yeah. Thinking you're doing it wrong or someone else is progressing faster.
It's a recipe for disaster. The source reminds us this is an inner journey. The only measure of progress is your own experience. Just show up, be kind to yourself, and let go of the judgment.
It's about, like, befriending your own mind, even those chatty roommate parts of ourselves,
Yeah.
and approaching the whole thing with a sense of curiosity.
Beautifully put. And when we do that, when we approach it with that spirit, the source suggests that we open ourselves up to experiencing reality in a whole new way. A way that's, well, far more expansive and mysterious than we could have imagined.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Quieting the mind, not to escape, but to actually experience things more fully, more deeply.
To perceive the interconnectedness of it all, that inner light and sound that, well, the source would say, permeates everything.
I don't know about you, but after this deep dive, I'm feeling pretty inspired to close my laptop, find a quiet corner, and put some of this into practice.
As the source would say, the journey of 1,000 miles, it begins with a single step, or maybe a single breath.
So true. And to everyone listening, we leave you with this. As you explore these practices, Simran, Tanan, Bhajan, pay attention to those subtle shifts within yourself. What does that inner sound tell you about your own experience? Until next time, keep diving.